Hello, good afternoon. So, just want to make sure Pak Yurdi is already here or he has not coming yet.
Belum join, Bu.
Okay. So we will wait for Yurdi for a moment. Okay, I think Pak Yurdi is here. Selamat siang Pak Yurdi.
Selamat siang, Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone, nice to see you all.
Terima kasih Pak Yurdi. So can we start now? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to host the today's sessions. So this afternoon we will have, I would say, lecture or presentations by Dr. Yurdi Yasmi. I will read his short biography at the moment, but please, it will be very nice to see your face in the video rather than your names, photos. It will be more lively if we can face to face and talk each other. And I think this is a kind of great opportunity for us to meet from many countries, and with the lively discussions, it will be more powerful, I guess. Yeah, we will have fruitful discussions this afternoon. Okay, so please, I will really appreciate if you can switch on your video. Thank you. Okay. Before we start, it is good for me to introduce myself. I'm Eva Anggraini. I'm a lecturer at the Department of Natural Resource and Environmental Resource Economics. At the moment, I was asked to moderate or to facilitate the afternoon session. And you can just call me Eva whenever you want to talk or you want to ask for some questions. Okay, and I'm very happy that we already have our speaker here, Bapak Yurdi Yasmi. So we call Dr. Yurdi Yasmi. So probably many of you has recognized or has already know him well. He is, I think he is a great researcher. So he is working at the International Rice Research Institute, regional representative for Southeast Asia, Cambodia. So Pak Yurdi is a leading natural resource manager, thinker, and scientist. He is working as ERIE's regional representative for Southeast Asia. He coordinates the Institute activities in the regions and leads the development of the overall regional as well as country strategies for ERIE's research, outreach, training, and capacity strengthening, and resource mobilization. So he is also very good in partnership with national governments, international research institutes, United Nations, development partners, private sectors, regional bodies such as ASEAN and other stakeholders. So it will be very good opportunity for you to dig his experience on this matter. I think this is a network is an important soft skill that we are needed today, collaborations, and I think we really need to develop our network capability. So prior to joining ERIE, Pak Yurdi served in various strategic leadership roles at the FIO, and also World Agroforestry Center and the Center for People and Forest. He has also been appointed to serve high-level experts panels by the World Bank, International Tropical Timber Organizations, and others. Dr. Yurdi received a PhD and a master degree from Wageningen University, the Netherlands, and bachelor degree from IPB University. It is a good pleasure to have you here, Pak Yurdi, to share with us about your topic and experience with the scholars or which already attended these sessions today. So Pak Yurdi will deliver presentations with the title Rice Agri-Food Systems in Southeast Asia, the Impact of COVID-19 and Climate Change. I think this is very important topics. How we deal with food system. Yeah, just for an information, Pak Yurdi, from yesterday to today, we have a subnational food system dialogue. It is part of food system summit dialogue where Bapenas is leading for this, and I'm a small part of this, facilitating the subnational dialogue. And this afternoon also we will have a subnational dialogue for the regional of Kalimantan. Yesterday we have 3, and today we have also 3 regions, and we aim at gathering some kind of important points in terms of arenas of actions and also game changer for transforming the food system. And I think what you will deliver today is really very much relevant to the Food Summit System Summit, which will be held on September, I guess, in New York. Yeah, and you may, it's very important issue, and I think we also have many important issues that we would like to deliver at the summit. And also how Indonesia also can play a role and for in terms of the transformations of the food system. Of course, at the end, we are talking about ourselves, we are talking about the people, how the food system can really benefit or increase the welfare of the community. I think this is the short introductions for these sessions, and we will come to the main sessions. We invite Pak Yurdi to deliver the speech. So Pak Yurdi, we will finish at 3 o'clock. I think I don't want to limit you with time, so please deliver as convenient as you will. And also, of course, I really encourage for the participants to share knowledge or to raise questions or to give your opinion and other things so that we can benefit from these sessions. Pak Yurdi, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eva. Can you hear me well?
Very well, yeah.
Yes, it is really a great pleasure for me to be with all of you here this afternoon or this morning for some of you who are not in this part of the region. As Dr. Eva said, my name is Yurdi Yasmi. I'm currently the regional representative of the International Rice Research Institute, or ERIE, as some of you might know. I understand, Dr. Eva, that participants of this course are coming from several countries, right? So I can see names. Most of them are Indonesian, I think. But what are other countries? I would like to make this lecture also a bit interactive. Do we have people from which country? We have from Malaysia also? I cannot hear you, Bu Eva, because you are...
I think we have Malaysia here.
Okay.
And Philippines. I'm not sure about the participants because this is the first day for me to join the South course.
I can already...
From the name, yeah.
I can already see Malaysia, Philippines, and where else? Can you please, participants, write where you're from? Australia. It's really nice. Thank you, Raisa.
I think...
So 3 countries. Okay. Anybody from Europe? From Philippines. Okay. Great. So nice to see everybody. And thank you so much for letting me know, you know, where you are from. It is a great pleasure. And I would like to start with this lecture. And if you have any questions in between while I'm presenting, please let me know. And if you think I speak very fast, please also let me know in the chat so that I can reduce, I can slow down. Okay, let me try to share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, is it full screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the topic of our discussion today, as already explained by Dr. Eva, is rice agri-food systems in Southeast Asia, the impacts of COVID-19 and climate change. Okay, and I would like you to ask questions or to raise your hand throughout this lecture, because I really want to be interactive. All of you here know about rice, so this is not something new. Yeah? But in the next 30 minutes, 1 hour or so, I would like to focus on 4 things. First, on rice agri-food systems itself in Southeast Asia. Second, I will talk about COVID-19 and its impact on rice agri-food systems. And then thirdly, I will talk about climate change, how climate change impacts rice agri-food systems, and then how climate change can also be reduced or be mitigated through rice agri-food systems. Last but not least, we will talk a little bit about, you know, the implication or the future of all of these. Okay. Okay. So rice agri-food systems, what it is. Okay. So I show you this picture. For you who are coming from Indonesia, Philippines, or Malaysia, this picture is nothing new to you. I took these pictures actually in Vietnam. What you see here is a system, okay? It is a rice agri-food system. You see the rice field, you see also some forest, you see some maybe water systems, some, you know, some other systems. So when we talk about rice agri-food systems, we are talking about interlinkages of different systems in a landscape. Yeah. So within a landscape, you have agriculture, you have forestry, you have fishery, you have rice, and you might have any other systems that are intertwined or interlinkages. So this picture hopefully, you know, tell you something about, you know, the concept of rice agri-food systems. And of course, you know, it is not visible in this picture. We also have infrastructure systems like road network, like, you know, dams, irrigation, and so forth. So when we talk about rice agri-food systems, we are actually talking about, you know, various systems in the rice landscape that influence one another. So the water system is influencing the agriculture system. It is also influencing the forestry systems, and vice versa. They are being influenced by other systems. So please keep in mind these interlinkages of various systems within a landscape. Yeah. remember these pictures. Okay. Now I wanted to talk a little bit, to start this lectures about myself. So, I'm actually growing with rice. Yeah. As a young kid, I was born in West Sumatra. I do not know if any of you is from West Sumatra. If yes, please let me know. Okay, Dr. Eva, you are from West Sumatra. Nice to know. I grew up in a village surrounded by the rice system. So this is just near my parents' house, which I took before the pandemic when I went home for a holiday with my family. And this is also a place where I used to fly my kite when I was a little boy. I was running in this field. I was enjoying time with friends. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that many of us, particularly those who are in my generation, have strong relationship with the rice agri-food systems. And I guess many of you as well, although you are much younger than us, you are probably also coming from this setup, right? One thing that I observed in this rice agri-food systems, things have changed a lot, dramatically, compared to 20 or 30 years ago. Or let's say to 20 years ago. When I was a little kid, we used to play in this place. There are many people doing farming. There are many activities on this rice field. Yeah? When I returned home a few years ago, I didn't see this anymore. There are less farmers, and most of them are old. Yeah, and I asked people, where are the young people? Young people like yourself, they are going to big cities, to Jakarta, to Manila, to Kuala Lumpur, or to Bogor, and they do not want to return home because they do not see agriculture as the future. This is a pity indeed, yeah. Because if you see, agriculture remains an important sector for our livelihood. So what I wanted to say in this presentation is that not only I'm connected very well with the rice agri-food systems, but I also see a lot of changes in this rice agri-food systems because of the change in the economy, the change in our social political structure, the change in our way of life. Yeah. You can see in this photo, nobody in this photo except myself. This already tells you something that, not many people anymore wanted to spend their life or their time doing rice agri-food systems. So things will have to change in order to make sure that we can still enjoy rice as our staple food. Yeah. If nobody produce rice anymore, we will be in trouble. And what I can tell you, why does rice matter in our life? Yeah, rice has fed the world for millennia, and the demand will continue to increase in the foreseeable future. Yeah, it will not go down. The demand of rice from countries that produce rice or that call rice a staple will continue because of the growing population, but also other part of the world who did not used to eat rice, increasingly nowadays eat rice, like Africa, North America, and even Europe. So just keep that in mind. If you look at this projection of the rice demand in the next 20 years to 30 years, looking at the 2015 global rice consumptions. So if you see the bar there until 2015, and then projection of the rice consumption toward 2040 will continue to increase. We need additional 103 million tons of rice by 2040. Yeah, this is a lot. The demand on rice will come mainly for Asia, from our region, because most of the Asian countries call rice as a staple. In Indonesia, and I think also in the Philippines or Malaysia, if you don't eat rice 3 times, you don't call it dinner, right? So when we say let's have a dinner, it always means a dinner with rice. But also you see in this graph, Africa will have will also increase the demand on rice. Africa at the moment consume a lot of rice as well. And then the the yellow bar there is America. The increase will not be significant, but still it will increase. And the black bar on the very top is actually the rest of the world, like North America or Latin America and the Caribbean. So enough to say that rice consumption will continue to increase in the future. Okay, now the importance of rice, and let's look at this a little bit deeper. As we speak now, rice feeds 4 billion people, or more than 50% of the world population. So this is huge, and that's why rice is very important. It is grown by 144 million farm families, mainly in Asia. Let's say 80 to 90% of those rice growing families are in Asia. In terms of the land use, rice AgriFood systems actually occupy 10% of the cropland, and it uses 50% of the world fertilizers. So that's why it is really, really significant. And by the way, you will get this slide later, so you don't need to take notes. Yeah. Okay. Another important aspect of rice is that rice has many cultural values. For many events, for many celebrations, festivals, we associate ourselves with rice. Not only when we eat rice, but also there are many other elements to it, right? You have rice as a staple food, that is pretty clear, but you also have rice for other things, for crackers, rice that you present in different ceremonies. Yeah? All right. Because of the importance of rice, many countries in the region use the coat of arm, use rice as part of their coat of arm or as a symbol. Why? Because for them in Southeast Asia, rice symbolizes prosperity. Without rice, there will be no prosperity. Yeah. So if you see in Indonesia, in our how do you call this, national emblem, we have rice reflected. You see Myanmar as well. You see Vietnam, Laos, and even ASEAN. The logo of ASEAN, this yellow thing in the middle, is supposed to be rice. So rice actually reflects, prosperity or symbolize prosperity in our region. So let's look a little bit deeper to this rice systems in our region. The region rice area is actually 40 million hectares. This is a huge amount of area, about 30% of the world rice harvest. So one, out of 3 rice harvests coming from our region, Southeast Asia. That's why it is really important. It is a food security buffer for other regions. So what does it mean? Southeast Asia provides rice for the rest of the world, because the demand in other parts of the world are high or higher than they can produce. So we export rice to the rest of the world. Countries like Thailand and Vietnam are 2 major rice exporting countries, as you know. Indonesia also import rice from these 2 countries, by the way. Rice provides 50% of the calorie intake in our region. So without rice, 50% of our calorie intake is gone. That's why it is very important. I don't know about you, Raisa. You are now in Australia, but I know your family background a little bit. I think you still eat rice, at least, I don't know, maybe not 3 times per day, but maybe less. I have been all over the world. I have lived in many countries, in Australia as well, in the Netherlands, in Cambodia, in Thailand, in Vietnam. Everywhere I go, I eat rice. It is not complete without rice. And this is something embedded in ourselves. So Raisa said she eats rice twice a day. Yeah? So you are still Indonesian. Okay, because rice is so important, there is a regional cooperation on rice under ASEAN. It is called APTER. Does anybody know APTER? No? Can somebody write what APTER is? You can Google it and then write. APTER is the ASEAN +3 emergency rice reserve. So the +3s are other countries beyond the 10 countries of ASEAN. These are China, South Korea, and Japan. So they come together to make sure that there is a rice security in the region and for the +3 as well. Okay. Next, how do I go next? Okay. So I just want to talk a little bit about the contribution of ERIE, an institute where I'm working at the moment, to the rice sector, particularly in the region. Yeah? Rice varietal development in Southeast Asia, initiated by ERIE, provide an annual benefit of $1.5 billion. So what does it mean? New varieties that are introduced in our region could produce financial benefit of huge financial benefit, $1.46 billion. This is an assessment conducted by the ACIAR. In 1980s, anybody from Cambodia here? No, I don't think so. In 1980s, ERIE reintroduced 750 traditional Cambodian rice varieties back into the country. Why is that? You might recall that during the 1970s and early 80s, there was a big conflict in Cambodia with Khmer Rouge, right? During that time, the situation was difficult for many Cambodians. There were hunger everywhere. Rice harvest was not enough. So they have to eat the rice reserve that usually to be used for the next season. So many of the original varieties from Cambodia being lost during that time. Luckily, ERIE is also the home for the gene bank, global gene bank of rice. So ERIE bring back those varieties being lost during the conflict in early 1980s. Indonesia's average annual value gains from ERIEs is equivalent or more than $76 per hectare across the average rice areas. If you are from rice farming families, you will be very familiar with ERIE's variety like IR64, IR8. So IR actually symbolizes ERIE. Yeah? So those varieties has high productivities, and with that it gives benefit to farmers as well. There are 74 ERIE improved rice varieties that have been developed and released and promoted in Myanmar. And as we speak now, half of the smallholder farmers in Myanmar actually use varieties developed by ERIE. Okay. ERIE has built strong relationship with the government throughout the region and globally, and also other stakeholders. So this picture show you how ERIE actually been demanded or being asked by different countries to support the development of the rice agri-food system. So the first photos to the right, top right, is the King of Thailand when he visited ERIE headquarters in Los Baños. The next photo is the previous president of Myanmar coming to ERIE and inspect the global rice gene bank. And then the lower bottom to the left is the Emperor Akihito and his wife visiting ERIE campus. And also there is Prime Minister Modi from India and Bill Gates from the US wanted to see what we are doing in our headquarters in the Philippines. So this is just to give you an overview of the operation of ERIE We are operating in Asia and in Africa. We have country offices in 17 countries, as you can see on the map. But our operation goes beyond this. Sometimes in some countries, we don't have country office, but we still do or conduct research in those countries. Okay, so that was the first part of my lecture. Is there any questions? Is there any brave student who want to ask questions? Or you can also write your question on the chat box if you want. Okay, no questions so far. So can I continue, Dr. Eva? Okay. Now the second part of my lecture would be on COVID-19 and its impact on the rice agri-food systems. So all of us are experiencing COVID. This is a special time for all of us. We have never had this time before, even in my lifetime. Yeah, this is unprecedented. It is sad because some of us have lost families, have lost people we know, even without saying goodbye, having a chance to say goodbye to them, right? Okay, so what are the impacts of COVID-19 on the rice agri-food system? The pandemic threatens to reverse years of progress that we have made in terms of poverty reduction, defeating hunger, healthcare, and education. So whatever progress that we have made in almost all sectors have been reversed backward. The pandemic has added another 118 million more people into hunger globally. So if this is a country, this is bigger than Thailand. Yeah. So there are more people who are going hungry to bed every day at the moment, and unfortunately, some of those people are not far from us, our neighbors, people we know, because of the pandemic. Okay. So the impacts of COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. Okay, I can.
Ano la?
Sorry,
Ang mais.
lainnya can you?
Ang crumble.
Sorry.
Okay, maybe.
Can help.
Ano na?
Okay, okay, I continue. So the impacts of COVID in Southeast Asia, we all know the economy hit the hardest, yeah? Because of the restrictions on movement, the lockdown, closing of businesses, disruption of supply chains. We do not do business as we did before. There are many operations of companies, shops, other business activities that are hampered by COVID-19. Not only in Indonesia, not only in Southeast Asia, it's everywhere. In our region, tourism and hospitality industries are being impacted quite, drastically. Many countries in Southeast Asia rely on tourism for their, incomes and economy. Many people actually lost their jobs and they are experiencing more economic hardship. So we are a very lucky group, who can still continue. We don't lose our job. You can still go and study at universities, but many others actually experiencing difficulties at this time. A study by the World Bank suggests that there has been a reduced remittances by 20%. So if you don't know what remittances are, these are money being sent back home to the country by people who are working outside their country, right? So workers from Indonesia who work in the Middle East, in Malaysia, in the US, who send money back to Indonesia, these are called remittances. So the amount of remittances that are, globally has reduced by 1/5. This is very significant. Yeah. Okay, I said before that tourism being impacted a lot in ASEAN countries. It is because the revenue from tourism has declined dramatically in the last 2 years. It is because of the restrictions, because of the travel requirements. You cannot travel as freely as before. I know many of you would travel to Singapore from Indonesia for a weekend, or you would like to go to Thailand with your family, to do shopping, to see, the countries. These days, you cannot do this anymore. You can do that, but it will be very, very complicated. Yeah? If you look at the graph in this slide, these are the tourism revenues in ASEAN countries. And for Thailand, the revenue from tourism, this is for 2019, of course, before the pandemic, is very significant. Likewise for Vietnam and Cambodia. While the number of Cambodia there is small, but the country is also very small. So for them, even is $5 billion, that is a lot of money, right? And so what we can conclude here, the pandemic actually impacted many people because these tourism sectors, they include hotels, they include taxi drivers, they include, women who are engaged in tourism industry, for example, working at different, hotels or through, various business markets and things like that. Okay, who are the vulnerable groups affected by the pandemic? When I say vulnerable groups, are those people who are at risk. Okay, the first one is, of course, people who are poor, people who do not have enough, people who go hungry each day to bed because they don't have enough food. And in ASEAN, there are 60 million people who are categorized as poor people, or 9% of the population. The second group is people who have lost their jobs recently due to the pandemic. Yeah, in many countries, people have to be sent back home, or they have to be paid in half of their original salary because their company cannot afford anymore to pay their full salaries. Thirdly, people who return home. So those people who are in big cities who used to work for various sectors, they have to return back to their villages because they don't have anything anymore in the cities. They become the burden back in the village. Yeah. Last but not least, women. Women are impacted a lot by the COVID pandemic. They have a lot of responsibility domestically. And those women that are mostly impacted severely are those who are pregnant, okay? Because they don't have enough nutrition to eat, that will impact not only them, but also their babies. Small children are also very vulnerable to the impacts of COVID. Okay. ERIE conducted a study about what are the challenges of rice agri-food system as a result of the pandemic. We concluded 4 things. First, the pandemic increased risk of food insecurity, particularly to these 4 groups that I mentioned to you. Second, there are changes in consumer demands. Yeah, now people tend to cook at home rather than going for dinner outside. Many of us do not go for dinner outside anymore. We want to eat food, with our family at home. Yeah. People also now tend to buy from local market, from market nearby, rather than going very far away to find stuff to cook. Or people also tend to buy online. And this is what you do every day. As a student, I know. You will order through GrabFood to other, kind of online platform. Thirdly, there are disruptions in terms of food supply chain, disruptions of logistics, lack of storage for many of our agriculture products, and in some cases also lack of labor, because nowadays those laborers, they cannot go freely from their home to the place where they work that are far from the home. There are different impacts of COVID-19, particularly to women and children. I already explained this. They are impacted much more compared to men for many reasons. Yeah? Okay. Specifically on the impacts of COVID-19 on the rice sectors, based on our assessment at the beginning of the pandemic, there was no significant impact in terms of production yet, at the time. This assessment was conducted about a year ago, 8 months ago. Countries are still producing according to their target, but governments are actually more concerned about the logistic of this, from production to the consumers. There is a little bit disruption in terms of provision of agriculture inputs because of the checkpoints, disruptions of transportation, and those inputs include fertilizers, seedlings, and also equipment. Some disruption in labor. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was also panic buying. People are stockpiling some products, and that already actually shaking a little bit the market, but it didn't last for long, fortunately. There are some policy measures that the government took at the beginning of the pandemic, like export bans of rice. Some countries applied this, but it was temporary. Now they do not do this anymore. And there was also a budget cut of Ministry of Agriculture in several countries because the budget need to be allocated to the health issue. Okay. Despite the fact that COVID-19 presented a lot of challenge to us, certainly there are opportunities as well. Some of those opportunities are to scale out e-agriculture through mobile banking, for example, digital payment, marketing, e-wallet, and so forth. So at the moment, throughout the world, the use of e-platform increased significantly because people are working from home, studying from home. Everything we do now is from home. We don't go out so much anymore. That's why the digital platform becomes a kind of our important day-to-day need at the moment. Another opportunity is to better understand the impacts on vulnerable groups. Yeah, so it is a time for us to study more, to do research more on the poor, on women, on people who are returning home from the cities and children. What are the impacts? What are the long-term impacts of the pandemic to them? Another opportunity is to develop nutrition-rich varieties and diet diverse systems. As you know, there are many other variety other than rice who can provide us with calories. Yeah. But unfortunately, we focus only on this one product, on rice, right? So there is an opportunity now to explore, other kind of crops to actually not to replace rice. It's very difficult to replace rice because it is so culturally embedded in our life. But at least as a substitute during a difficult time. There is also an opportunity to promote local small and mid-sized enterprises in the food system. As I said before, because of this pandemic, we tend to buy locally. Yeah, so this is an opportunity actually for farmers, for local entrepreneurs, to flourish if we take the opportunity well. There is also an opportunity to shift from conventional agriculture system to mechanization. Mechanization has proved to be very important in modernization of our agricultures. Now, with the reduced number of farmers, mechanization can help as well. Now, with the pandemics, mechanization can also help, can reduce the contacts between people, in the agriculture system. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that despite all these challenges, there are big opportunity presented by the pandemic. Okay. So that was the second part of my talk. I'm not sure if I have any question. Let me check. There is
one question in the chat.
Yeah, who is this? Peritia Trisha Sophia. Okay, with rice as a staple food, and there is an increased demand in rice production, is it safe to say that genetically modified rice can suffice the demand and can serve as a support to traditional rice and demand
of food security, or
yeah,
maybe food health, probably what you meant, or
yeah. Okay. Do you want to say this yourself? Hello?
Yeah, how do we should call Trisha or Pereira? Maybe you can say something on.
So Trisha, are you saying that is it safe to use genetically modified rice variety or what? Okay.
I guess it's related to the health problem of the genetically modified rice variety.
Okay. So at ERIE, we develop, different varieties of rice. In some cases, we also would like to add, vitamin A to rice, zinc to rice, because, rice is a very important agent to address, micronutrient deficiencies, okay? So whether it is safe or not, I have to tell you that any genetically modified variety of rice will have to follow internationally recognized standards or procedures. We cannot just release any variety and then it will be available in the market. No, it will take years of experimentation, testing, until it is very safe. So any variety or any genetically modified variety that has been released in country by the government usually have been tested for safety, for the people, for the environment as well. Yeah. So any varieties of rice at the moment that you find on the market have gone through this. Yeah. I hope I answer your questions. Now, Gemma, you would like to ask question, right? Perhaps you can introduce yourself, where you're from, and what your questions is.
Okay, thank you, sir, for recognizing me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gemma Situbal from the Philippines. I just wanted to ask this, sir. Last February 2019, there is a law that being passed in our country. This law is called Rice Tarification Law. And this law aims to, of course, modernize our agricultural sector as way of making the sector globally competitive. And under this law, there's a permission where there's a it permits the entry of imported rice coming from foreign countries. For you, sir, because the way I assess it, um, it could really cause disadvantages to our economy as well as to our local farmers, since we are having a imported rice from the other country.
Yeah. Gemma, which part of the Philippines are you from?
I came from the Iloilo, from the
Okay.
western part of Iloilo. Western part of the Philippines.
So it's region 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, very good question. You are up to date on this rice tarification law. For those who are not from the Philippines, there is an institute called PhilRice, okay? the Philippines rice under DA, under Department of Agriculture. And the rice tariffication law was seen as a breakthrough recently by many, not only from those in the Philippines, but also by those from outside the countries. And what I can say is that ERIE plays some part of this rice tariffication law as well in supporting the government of the Philippines. So what does it mean? It means that the Philippines is now opening up their market, less regulating the rice price, so that the Philippines can buy cheaper rice from Thailand or Vietnam. Okay. So why did the government of the Philippines do that? Okay, it is actually to make the rice sectors in the Philippines more competitive. Okay, so it will actually stimulate the improvement, the modernization of the rice sectors in the Philippines. If you continue to protect your market, you will not be able to compete with other countries, particularly countries like Thailand and Vietnam, who are actually producing rice cheaper than countries like Indonesia or the Philippines. As we speak now, there are two big rice importing countries in the world, and Philippines is one of them. Okay? So the intention of the law is very novel, and I think the DA, the Secretary Dar is very committed to uplift the rice sectors in the Philippines. The government has a very clear mission to be self-sufficient. So without so that rice tariffication will contribute to that. Yeah, in the short terms, you are correct, Gemma. Maybe there will be some issues in the short term, like competition of the local rice and then the import rice. But experience suggests that in the long term it will be beneficial. So we also should look this not only for this season or next season, but for a long term. And in fact, that policy is one of the reform that has been appreciated by many as well. So I hope I answers your questions, and then.
So just an inquiry. So just to add, so for the Philippines, does the government provide subsidy for the farmers before the law established?
Every government in the world, as far as I know, actually subsidize agriculture, even in Europe and in the US.
Right.
In Indonesia, and this is I would like to ask students here, please find out how many billion the government subsidized fertilizer. Yeah? I will not tell you the number, but you will be very surprised. It's a lot. So rice system everywhere is being subsidized by the government.
Sure.
Okay. Is there any more question? Thank you, Gemma, for your question. Very nice. Are you with UPLB?
No, sir. I'm studying at Iloilo Science and Technology University.
Okay. I hope to come and visit that region again. Very interesting region. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
If there is no more questions, then we go to the third part of my lecture. It will be on climate change. Yeah. So everybody knows climate change is real. It is with us. It has been with us even before the pandemic. Okay. So what are the impacts of climate change on rice agri-food system? So let's discuss this. Okay. Climate change has huge impacts on agriculture. And we all have observed this, right? Climate change, induce, weather irregularities. We tend, at the moment, we have drought. When we need water, we have less water. or no water at all. When we don't need water, we have too much water for flooding. So all these irregularities are the signs of climate change. Agriculture and related sector contribute 23% to the total greenhouse gas emission. This is huge. This is more than 1/5. Yeah. With climate change, we also have many natural disasters now. Landslides, floodings, yeah, typhoon. Philippines is a country that have a lot of typhoon as well, and other types of natural disasters. And these disaster impacts on our agriculture. Keeping the temperature below 2 degrees, as the world leaders committed during the Paris Agreement, is very challenging. And if you read the current IPCC report, which was just released a couple of days ago, it is very challenging, to reach the 1.5 to 2 degrees weather by the end of this century. Yeah. So there are 3 important greenhouse gases from the agriculture sector: CO2, CH4 or methane, and N2O or nitrogen oxide. So if you see this graph, their amount being released to the atmosphere has increased in the last 60 years. Now, if you look at the wheat, or at the staple food globally, there are important staple food: rice, wheat, and maize. These are the 3 most important staple foods that provide calories to people. So globally, they have similar amounts of calories. Yeah? But if you look at the graph, rice production emits significantly more greenhouse gases than wheat and maize. Yeah? And then the next graph I will show you, if you look at this national greenhouse gas emission, you see that the emission from rice sector is very significant in Vietnam, in Thailand, and in other countries, if compared to the other sectors. In this case, if we compare to the road or transport sector. So we have a lot of challenge here. On one hand, rice agri-food system is being impacted by climate change, but at the same time, rice agri-food system also causes, emission of greenhouse gas to the atmosphere. They are contributing to the problem. So how does the rice system contribute to greenhouse gas emission? If you look at this, okay, the methane, for example, produced by bacteria in an anaerobic condition, in the wet condition. So through this, they release, a lot of amount of methane to the atmosphere. Usually, this is very dominant in the flooded fields. And in most rice system at the moment, a lot of water being kept flooded in the rice, while it is actually not necessary to do that. Yeah. The other greenhouse gases is nitrous oxide, N2O, the byproduct from nitrification and denitrification. So this process in the minor and flooded field actually increase the release of N2O to the atmosphere. Yeah. So the rice system itself is problematic in terms of producing these greenhouse gases. Okay, let me check that. Is there a question on the chat? Okay. Now, with climate change, there is another problem. It is what we observe as researchers. The deltas, the lower land in the Mekong region, is sinking or is going down, yeah, because of the climate change. Studies suggested that the rate of this is faster than we initially thought. So, like the Mekong Delta, you know, these are the photos of the Mekong Delta. There is a change in the groundwater system. There is also a force that makes them going down. So, scientists actually warn that if we don't do, if we don't do bold action, the sinking of these deltas, not only Mekong Delta, but there are many other deltas in our region. For example, Chao Phraya deltas in Thailand, Irrawaddy Delta in Myanmar, Ganges Delta in India. You know, they are all sinking, yeah, because of climate change. Okay. So these are how climate change actually having impacts on our rice agri-food system, but also how our rice agri-food system impacting or worsening the climate change. Now, my final slides are about the future. So taking all of this together, what does it mean for us? Okay, so we have, I explained to you at the beginning, rice agri-food system, and then we have COVID-19, and then we have climate change. Yeah? So if we take all of this together, the future will never be the same. So this is what I want to say to you. We are not in an usual situation. We are in unprecedented situation with climate change and COVID-19. Our response should be also unprecedented. Yeah? If not, we are going to be in big trouble. Your generation will face, significant problems. Okay, so the future. Let's talk a little bit about it. Yeah, the future will be shaped by at least three things, and I'm sorry for the typos. First, digitalization will be faster. Yeah. Second, the importance of building our resilience to all this change and shocks. Third, the importance to fast forward innovation. Without innovation, we will not be able to cope with all of these pressures and shocks. So, what kind of innovation that we have witnessed so far? First is the use of internet. Yeah? The use of internet increased significantly during the pandemic. The use of digital media and online things increased significantly, in particular in our region. You see now, you are doing lecture from your bedroom, yeah, from your house. You don't come to classroom anymore. We never know when we will come back to a normality like in the past. Maybe we will never, yeah? So we will need to be, up to speed with this digital innovation. You have to be, digitally savvy people. Otherwise, you are missing the boat. Okay? Agriculture actually follows suit. These are some of the information that I gathered from different part of the region, that agriculture now using, digital technologies as well. They are doing this for spraying the field, for monitoring the field with the drone, for actually monitoring the field, using the blockchain, to predict weather condition, getting advices from various, information, big data. All of this will be our new vocabularies. They are not so new anymore, but you as a student in the future will deal a lot with this, new innovation in agriculture. Okay. There are advantages of agri-technology, among others, resource use efficiency. This technology will help us to optimize the use of water, land, fertilizer, and other kind of inputs. Yeah? So it is useful. From research at ERIE, we have actually proof the use of this tool is very helpful. Automation And precision agriculture can replace, inputs like labor, saving time. Automation helps, doing things faster and with much more accuracy. We will also be benefited by having better quantity and quality of food, better incomes and livelihood for farmers, enhance sustainability, because with all the data being stored in your device, and this device will give you references and advices, to do your agriculture better and much more efficiently. There's also advantage in terms of generating big data, so that experience in your location can be shared to other people in similar situation. Lesson learned, can be transferred very quickly. Market data can be accessed online, and all of these. Yeah, so data being generated is very useful. Digitalization also support rice value chain actors, and also if used well and if accessed equally by different stakeholders, it might reduce also inequities in terms of access to information and market. Okay. The second important things that I described before would be, addressing the climate change issue and building resilience. Yeah. So how can we reduce emission from rice-based agri-food system? There are technologies that we have developed, and the question for us is how we can actually scale out the implementation of this technology. Yeah? Some of these technologies are straw management, water saving technology, direct seeded rice, alternate wetting and drying. Building resilience from climatic shocks, from pandemic. There is a strong reason for us to believe that the next pandemic might come again and might be coming soon. So we have to build resilience of our agriculture system, but also our economy in general. So there are a lot of approaches that are already being introduced in research and science. A few of them are climate smart varieties, how to develop varieties that are resistant to various climatic change, nature-based solution or NBS. And this is a very important technology. I would like you to further investigate on this or study this, e-agriculture and so forth. Okay, going forward, agriculture innovation will be helpful, but we also have to ask ourselves, right? What policies and enabling framework need to be in place to ensure the adoption of e-agriculture, this innovation will be sustainable, will support green recovery from COVID, and will support the so-called One Health and social justice. Yeah? Secondly, we also need to be thinking about the role of different stakeholders, government, farmers, research institutes, universities, youth like yourself, yeah, in the upscaling and the adoption of this innovation. Last but not least, we need to know how we can foster cooperation and collaboration among the stakeholders through platforms, like ASEAN, SRP here, a Sustainable Rice Platform, and other regional bodies. We cannot address, this climate change or COVID-19 pandemic in isolation. We have to collaborate across sectors, across generation, across disciplines. Yeah. So with that, I would like to end the presentation. And of course, I think, Dr. Eva, we have time for Q&A. I'm not sure if there are questions already. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Yurdi, for the nice presentations. I think it is very important issues for current situations. So since the pandemic start, we are very covered by issues of food security and the related issues. And now we are already like almost 2 years of the pandemic, and for some reason we are still survive. I mean, we still survive. So the food can still be provided, but of course, if we look at more detail, like for the people, so I think there are many people have been impacted with the situations, and they cannot really get a proper food for and stuff. And I think we can develop more questions on it. But before, we have two questions from Wahyu and Erwin. So Wahyu in the chat room. So Wahyu was asking about the emission source from rice productions. So is it possible for smart agriculture to overcome? So I think it's related to precision farming that you have mentioned before. On the other hand, implementing smart agriculture requires technology and costly. So I think only farmer with large capital can be able to adopt it, and how to deal with this. And this is the question from Wahyu. And also we have from Erwin, also related to the climate change. Scientists in collaboration with the government develop and produce new varieties of rice that are resistant toward these changes. What are the activities done by ERIE to preserve classic and rare variety of rice to continue to thrive in the region?
Yeah, thank you for these questions. Okay, climate smart agriculture is an approach. Okay, it is a very famous approach at the moment. It entails wide, comprehensive definition. Okay, so but in essence, the climate smart agriculture is an agriculture within the context of changing climate with all the challenges that can produce more, but within our planetary boundaries, within the environmental boundaries. So in this climate smart agricultures, we are required to produce more with less, to do no harm to environment, to ensure the safety of the product that we produce. Okay? So is that possible? Yes, it is possible. Research has proven this. The challenge is the adoption of the climate smart agriculture practices is still limited. Why is that? It's because many of the farmers are not familiar with this. To change practice is not easy. It is not like you know something beneficial, it doesn't mean that you can do it immediately. Yeah. People have habits in agriculture, To change this habit is totally different things than to know that it can be changed. Yeah. So to answer your question shortly, yes, climate smart agriculture is an important approach to be scaled up and scale out in the region. Okay. What is the next question? Dr.
Yeah, I think this is quite related because to the questions of Wahyu. So Daniel was asking about the governance structure, actually vertical farming systems, which is I think it is challenging in rice farming, because in Indonesia, for example, that we have very large scale farming are very dominant. So I will read the question from Wahyu from Daniel. So what is your opinion about vertical farming system? Is there any going effort to consider this as an alternative to increase rice production?
Okay, vertical agriculture will be most relevant in big cities. Yeah. It is not yet a common practice in Indonesia, in Philippines, or in Malaysia, but it is increasingly being done in Singapore. So the question is, it is not about the vertical agriculture. It is why people are doing vertical agriculture. That is the question, right? The reason for people doing vertical agriculture, you know, are the following. First, they don't have enough land. Like in Singapore, they don't have enough land. Yeah? They cannot farm. Singapore is a city state. Yeah? So that would require them to do vertical agriculture. Instead of going wide, they are going up. Yeah? And vertical agriculture is not as simple as you might think. Yeah? It requires different technologies. It requires sophisticated system. It requires equipment. It requires monitoring, and sometimes it requires you to actually adjust your microclimate using the technologies. Yeah? So if you do not have land, if you do not have enough people to farm, then vertical agriculture could be a solution. If all the people live in big cities, then you might do vertical agriculture. Yeah? But in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and even Australia, farming on land horizontally are still the biggest things. But to say whether vertical agriculture will not be relevant is probably also not true. In the future, I believe the role of vertical agriculture will be important, particularly for products like vegetables, who can now be produced with simple technology, like hydroponics. Many people have done this at scale. So yes, vertical agriculture has an important role in that respect. Next question.
Yes, I just want to, I think I just confused before. I thought that it's kind of vertical integration, sorry. But I think it's also like vertical integrations, it's kind of governance is also like an issue that in Indonesia, maybe you heard about a rice estate where people are quite concerned about it, and people are quite worried that our agriculture, which is more small scale, will be very co-opted by the large capital or the capitalists. So this is another issue, I guess, if we have time to discuss about it. And the other question from Lizel is related to climate change can affect rice farming. Hence, agriculture farming can also contribute to greenhouse effects, as you said before. What are the mitigation to lessen the effect of rice farming to the climate change? I think it's quite related to the previous questions.
Okay, so there are some practical things that we can introduce in the rice agriculture to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases from the rice agriculture. First is to manage the water efficiently. Normally in the rice agriculture, you keep the water floating throughout the entire season. So in Thailand, for example, they have 90 to 100 days. So if you keep water afloat during this time, the anaerobic process will continue to happen and emit methane. But in fact, study shows that the amount of water we need in our rice production is 1/3 of what currently being used. Yeah. So water management is one thing. A technology for that is called alternate wetting and drying, or AWD. Yeah? So Lazel, I would like you to check about this AWD. I don't have time to explain this, but in short, this AWD is that when the rice needs the water will be flooded to the rice. Okay, when the rice do not need the water will be released. So there is a small equipment that can do this or monitor the water level, also being introduced as part of our research. Right, this has been tried in a number of countries, including. I guess, Lazel, from your name, you are from the Philippines. It has been tried in the Philippines as well. Okay, so that is one technology or one approach we can do. Secondly, straw burnings. Yeah, you might have heard or you might have seen that after rice harvest, farmers tend to burn the straws. Yeah, to get rid of it, to clean it. And this actually also emit carbon dioxide. Although not very large amount, but still that is harmful for the environment and for health. Yeah. So there are now many approaches to how we can utilize rice straw for economic benefits, yeah? Like for mushroom growing, like for fodders and for other things. Yeah. So that is the second technology. The third technology is actually to manage the use of fertilizer. Fertilizers are using chemicals. It induces certain processes within the rice systems. So how do we actually use efficient fertilizers that are more environmentally friendly? So these are three technologies that that we can use to reduce emission from our rice agriculture. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, Dr. Yurdi. I don't have any questions on the chat, but probably for the participants who would like to say your questions verbally, please. So we also want to hear your voice. Or maybe Pak Yurdi, before just for waiting, we still have like about 9 minutes. Okay, so Gemma is also raised any questions, another question. So we came from developing countries and somehow we can't afford smart agri-tech. So does ERIE extend help to support developing countries with regard to this agri-tech?
Yeah, I think smart agri-tech does not mean that it has to be expensive. Mm-hmm. Smart agri-tech is about efficiency. It's about being environmentally friendly, and sometimes these are cheaper, right? By doing organic farming, you are actually smart, yeah? Because you save environment, you use material from available from within your surrounding. So I think we have to be aware about this. Smart agriculture is not necessarily expensive, but smart agri-tech, perhaps you refer to using this blockchain,
artificial intelligence,
different application and things like this. It is challenging particularly for farmers. Yeah? Mm-hmm. But the good news is that farmers are now actually having access to mobile phone. So there are simple applications that can help them as well. So we should start from this. Yeah? Mm-hmm. We cannot introduce things, that are too far from the reach of the farmers. I would like to invite you to actually go to ERIE's website, where we introduce simple online application like weather monitoring. We also have application called Rice Doctor. Just like like our doctor, if you have problem, you can ask question online in a very simple platform. This does not cost you at all. It just you can just go and to the application and interact. Okay. Yeah, I think that is from me, Dr. Eva. I hope this lecture has made some sense to all of you, and I really wish you success in your study. And I just put in the chat room, if you are interested in my research and activities, you are more than welcome to follow my Twitter. I tweet regularly in order to share information. That's it from me, Dr. Eva and colleagues, students. It has been a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Yurdi. It is a great pleasure to have your lecture today. And I hope that all the students are happy and got more knowledge, and also are more aware of the of our rice farming systems, which is a complex system, I guess, and Pak Yurdi has explained us about some parts of the rice farming system. And of course, if we would like to dig more, we are still like struggling about the institutions, about the markets, about how the land access and stuff, which is also important issues on rice farming. And I think you still have more time to learn about it. And if you are interested in rice farming and to do research on this issue or on this topic, I think you can also discuss with Pak Yurdi. I guess Pak Yurdi, you will be very welcome with the students if they contacted you or follow you in the Twitter, and then to discuss more. I think it is one of the important issues to be researched. And COVID-19, food security and COVID-19 are still like somehow which is need to be uncovered, and how to really solve the problem in the long run. And also, of course, the climate change issue. We are still like facing this problem, I guess. And I think we still have 4 minutes actually, but it's very short time for having another things. And we would like to say thank you to Dr. Yurdi for the sharing, for the valuable knowledge that have been shared to us this afternoon. And we would like to see you with in the another sessions. It will be facilitated with another lecturer. And I also would like to say, if there's something, my limitations in facilitating these sessions, I hope that you just take it easy. I hope you enjoy the summer course and you got available knowledge and experience in the summer course. Pak Yurdi, thank you very much and see you again.
Thank you, Dr. Eva. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.